Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a team that SSThorn used to reach #1 in the world on the Go Battle League leaderboards. Not only is he the top ranked battler in the entire planet, he was also almost 50 points higher than any other player, and today I'm going to be showcasing the absolutely overpowering Color Cup team that he used. This team features Alolan Golem with Rollout as the lead, Amoonguss as the safe switch, and Jumpluff as the closer. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and I'm going to be testing out this team for myself in the Color Cup. We're off to a tough start in the first match. Shadow Alolan Golem into HomeSliceHenry, the safe switch into Amoonguss, and the opponent is going to respond with a Shadow Alolan Marowak. Now, Marowak does actually have to respect Amoonguss here because Amoonguss is able to hit for continual super effective damage with both the Astonish and the Foul Play. The opponent is actually going to go for a full farm down here, so they are giving up 2 shields in exchange for the ability to get them back from the Golem with Bone Clubs. In comes the Golem. I do get the rollout through. They're going to be under-tapping a Bone Club here. So for me, this is a very easy catch onto the Jumpluff so I can preserve my final shield in case I need it later. The Bone Club going to be triple resisted. In comes Shadow Typhlosion, and in game 1, I have been completely hard countered. But that's the thing about this team. This team can fight back even against hard counters. I'm able to make it to a second Aerial Ace. This should put them into farm down range. They're forced to throw a move. If they throw a Blast Burn, they're not going to have a second move loaded, and I get a farm down. If they Thunder Punch, it won't KO, so they're forced to throw both Thunder Punches, and now I can just win the game with the Shadow Alolan Golem. In comes the Golem. They're going to switch into the HomeSliceHenry. My charge attacks are completely walled here, but Shadow Alolan Golem does not care. Wild Charge, massive damage to the HomeSliceHenry. I make it to Wild Charge number 2, and this will just about be able to pick up the knockout. HomeSliceHenry actually hangs on 1 HP. That's going to force my final shield, but they have no ability to make it to another charge move. I can roll out down the Marowak, roll out down the Typhlosion, and that is a good game. We move to the next match, picking up a great lead, Shadow Alolan Golem versus Shadow Marowak. Opponent safe switches into Shadow Kingdra, and Shadow Kingdra will be answered with Jumpluff. Shadow Kingdra, if it wants to double shield, does have the ability to flip switch versus a non-Shadow Jumpluff. However, it's going to have to double shield if it wants to do that. I'm going to farm up and fire off this Energy Ball. Energy Ball is going to connect, and that +1 Fairy Wind is going to pick up the KO. Back in comes the Marowak. The Fire Spin does go through as I throw 1 Fairy Wind and the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is going to land. The Aerial Aces aren't going to do a ton of damage, but at this point, it's just about getting some damage over time and slowly chipping away at the Marowak. Marowak does leave with a Bone Club. I send in the Golem, but I get the 1-turn lag, so unfortunately, my rollout, which should sneak through, does get denied. My opponent in the back has Golisopod, and they are just core broken to smithereens. This is the power of Shadow Alolan Golem. Right now, people are completely disrespecting rock damage, and Golem can just completely run through teams. Here with Golem, I'm going to bank a move, send in Amoonguss, and Amoonguss is massively bulky. I can take multiple moves here. Most Golisopod are on X-Scissor plus Liquidation. X-Scissor just not going to do nearly enough. They're going to fire off a last-second move. It is going to be another X-Scissor. The Astonish KOs. They know that I have a move on the Amoonguss and a move on the Golem. Golem wins the cap tie over Marowak by a mile, so they're just going to let it go. We move to the next match, and I'm going up against a regional champion, Boom20. Leading into a Starmie, I save switch to Amoonguss. He banks a ton of energy and sends out an Incineroar. Oh my goodness. So Boom, well aware of the fact that Amoonguss is an incredibly deadly save switch, and he's looking to hard counter it in the 2900s with Incineroar. Oh my goodness. I mean, I can't really do anything against the Incineroar. I'm forced to just let it go. Send in the Golem. Golem, unfortunately, does get the 1-turn bring in again, so I don't sneak through the rollout. I shield up the Darkest Lariat, and I'm able to get the farm down. The Starmie, honestly, he made a brilliant play. He didn't switch in the Incineroar right away. He banked a ton of energy on the Starmie, and that's going to be a problem because I now have to try and outpace the Starmie, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I'm committing my final shield on the Surf, and this is going to be close. I have to get to the back-to-back Rock Blast. I'm 1 away here. Can I outpace the Starmie? Rock Blast is shielded, but my opponent, due to the perfect overfarm earlier, is able to outpace, and now I need Jumpluff to try and sweep the endgame. Jumpluff enters the field. Starmie is going to bank some energy and send in Charge-a-Bug, and this might actually be a winnable endgame. The tricky thing is I'm going to have to basically perfectly anticipate when the Starmie gets switched in. I know that I can survive the Volt Switches plus the 2 X Scissors. Starmie is very, very close to a move. So I farm up a ton, and I'm going to start spamming out Aerial Aces. Aerial Ace is going to connect, and I always have to make sure that I have energy stored. Now the question is, will he switch here, or will he switch later? I say later, but he switches here. Starmie gets me with the charge attack. And even though my opponent built their team to try and beat this one, we were still able to make it extremely close. Golem into Marowak in the next match, and they're staying in, which means they have something in the back that's going to be weak to Golem. Golem firing off the Rock Blast. We have the same pacing as the Marowak to the first 2 charge attacks, but Golem wins the CMP tie. If you do want to try this team, I recommend a high attack Shadow Golem, because if you run into people also running this team, being able to win CMP in the mirror is incredibly, incredibly important. They're double shielding, so I'm more than happy to shield myself and just fully commit to a farm down. So I will get the farm down, exiting with a wild charge. In comes Quagsire, and I quick switch out into Amoonguss. Amoonguss always going to be the safe switch with this team. Amoonguss going to be hit with a move from the Quagsire. It's the Stone Edge. And in the back, they have Charge-a-Bug, and that's why they couldn't switch out of that Marowak lead. They were ABA weak to Rock. Now Charge-a-Bug is going to be hit with charge attack after charge attack from the Amoonguss, and in a split second, they go from full health to now deep into the red. They're going to be able to pick up a KO with the X-Scissor, but I can just win the game now with Jump Bluff. Even with an X-Scissor landing, Jump Bluff is not going to be in Stone Edge range, so I can just make it to the Energy Ball and win the game. The opponent is going to switch back in the Quagsire here. I'm going to try for a CMP sack swap just for the fun of it. Did I get it though? Wild Charge connects. Oh, I didn't get it. That is unfortunate. I mean, we still win, but it would have been very cool to get the CMP sack swap. I really wanted to make that happen, but Stone Edge not going to KO. Energy Ball KOs them, and Charge-a-Bug just isn't anywhere near a move. Here, I could have Fairy Winded down, but I figured may as well throw the Aerial Ace just to secure the knockout and take the win. Hopping to the next match, leading Shadow Alolan Golem into Talonflame, the best possible lead. Opponent is staying in to start with. They're going to save switch into Kingdra, and I get to immediately respond with the Jump Bluff. Again, Jump Bluff does very, very well here. Me personally, I like no shield in the Outrage. You can shield the Outrage if you'd like to guarantee switch advantage, but where that can get slightly tricky is if your opponent then gets a massive farm on the Talonflame. The Talonflame energy isn't going to particularly threaten the Golem, but it could threaten other Pokemon on the team. Here, I'm going to be spamming out Aerial Aces. Since I have a pretty high rank Jump Bluff, I'm able to get to a third Aerial Ace, and that's going to force the final shield from my opponent, and that is just going to basically doom them to a loss, because they've now flipped switch, which means they get Talonflame on Amoonguss. But Incinerate's a 5-turn move, Rollout is only a 3-turn. So the moment I see them switch in, I can switch in the Golem, catch them in the middle of their Incinerate, throw the Rollout and the Rock Blast. That's going to be good night to the Talonflame. In the back is Toxapex, another Pokemon that gets absolutely destroyed by Golem, and that's a good game. Golem with another great lead. Opponent safe switches into Morpeko, and this is actually a bit of a tricky Pokemon for this team to deal with. I send in Jump Bluff. Honestly, I'm not super comfortable on dealing with Morpeko with this team. Morpeko is going to successfully land that first Aura Wheel. I go for an Aerial Ace bait, and they call the bait. Man, a lot of Morpekos were shielding, so I started going for the Aerial Ace, and this trader reads me like a book. They call it, and now things could get a little bit uncomfortable. Again, the good news for me is that Talonflame, even if they do get energy, Alolan Golem's going to be double resisting all of their flying moves, so I'm not excessively worried there. Back in comes the Talonflame. I believe I'm now going to be on my 4 cycle, and I'm going to live the next Incinerate, which means I get one final Aerial Ace, and 2 Aerial Aces from Jump Bluff is going to put the Talonflame below half HP. So now the Talonflame is very low. In comes Golem. In the back is Superior, and Superior, once the Jump Bluff is out of the way, is a little bit scary. But here's where Amoonguss is an absolute tank. Look at that. It tanks the Aerial Ace like it's nothing. The Vine Whips, of course, are resisted, so they're never going to be able to farm down, and now I can farm up to the back-to-back foul plays. They can live one foul play, but they're not living a second one. So I go for the first, they will commit the shield. I was worried they might undertap, so I myself actually go for the undertapped foul play there. So not the greatest timing on my part, but look at this. They can't farm down. Amoonguss is too bulky, and now I just have a completely winning position because my Golem double resists any move Talon can throw. The Brave Bird, the Fly, it's not going to matter. They go for the Fly to try and make it to another one, but they're not able to get there, and now I can just double up on Rock Blast and pretty comfortably take the win. Even if they Brave Bird it, it's still double resisted, so Golem tanks it very comfortably, and either way, as long as I save the shield for the move for Superior, I was in a good spot. Terrible lead in the next match, leading into Gastrodon. I save switch into Amoonguss. Opponent sends out a Mantine. What is a Mantine doing here? And for some reason that I cannot describe, I foul play the Mantine. This is a terrible play by me. I should go for the Grass Knot. Grass Knot's always going to do more here. They're going to go for the Aerial Ace, and look at this. I make it to a second move. If I threw 2 Grass Knots, this would KO or force a shield, but now it does neither. Oh my goodness, what a spectacular throw from me. I send in the Golem and I get the 1-turn bring and lag again. You've got to be kidding me. Water Pulse connects, but I am firmly on the Jumpluff will sweep this game train. And now, in the back, it's going to be a Qwilfish. So had I flipped switch or if I had a shield advantage, I would be in a winning position here. But now things are going to get very difficult and I'm going to have to get some shield calls right. They do have enough for a potential Sludge Wave. I commit the shield and I get baited with an Aqua Tail. That is absolutely devastating. Qwilfish is very, very glassy. So Qwilfish will take a ton of damage from Aerial Ace. This is going to be a CMP tie. I am going to commit the shield as they go again for an Aqua Tail bait. And I threw the wrong move and I've shielded 2 baits. So this game is basically over. I'm going to farm up energy here, switch into the Golem and get the catch. Wait, are we somehow still back in this game? We caught the Sludge Wave and now I will fire off this Aerial Ace. I'm pretty sure this will be able to knock out the Aerial Ace. It doesn't KO. They're able to leave with the move. They get a body slam. And I think despite the fact that that catch brought me back in the game, by not energy balling, I think I may have thrown this game again. Despite the fact that this team completely hard counters me, I should have won. I just made too many mistakes. I should have energy balled the Qwilfish to knock it out. I should have grass knotted the Mantine. And man, I shouldn't have shielded 2 baits. We move to the next game, and it's a dream lead. Shadow Golem versus Shadow Charizard. They're staying in. What could they have in back? This has to be some kind of ABA Fire team. So ABA Fire, a wild, wild strategy as they just get farmed down. This is what I'm talking about people just completely disrespecting Golem. They bring in Ferrothorn. I pivot into Amoonguss. Amoonguss is answered with Shadow Marowak, and this game is already over. My opponent just doesn't know it yet. Marowak is going to have to throw because if they don't, I'm going to get to another foul play. And I'm more than happy just to let this go, as forcing their energy should put me in a pretty decent position. I send in the Golem because Golem's going to win that charge attack priority tie. Rock Blast is going to pick up the KO, and I'm pretty close to getting to another move. I'm going to shield. My opponent should be looking to switch out here, and they do, into the Ferrothorn, and now I get to send in Jumpluff. And this matchup is just such a dominating matchup for Jumpluff because 2 moves from Ferrothorn do not KO. Even if they have Flash Cannon, look at that. We very comfortably tank that. I'm running the regular Jumpluff in a very high rank, so Ferrothorn just gets absolutely obliterated in this matchup. Aerial Ace doesn't even do much here, but that's okay, because we can tank 2 moves. Ferrothorn is just absolutely helpless here. They are going to fire off their energy, and now I'm just going to look to switch out. They go for the Flash Cannon. I can switch out into the Golem. Opponent is going to make a catch onto the Marowak, but it's not going to matter. I thought about undercharging, then realized there's no point. Even at 0 bubbles, it still would KO, but I can make the wild charge, so we're going to be able to take the win. The opponent with the ABA Fire strategy, and Golem with the hard punish. Shadow Golem into Ferrothorn. It's going to be another tough game here. I'm going to save switch into Amoonguss. Opponent responds with the Marowak. It's honestly very common to bait out a fire type with Amoonguss, and Amoonguss does pretty well against most of the fires not in Talonflame. Here my opponent didn't even build up to the Shadow Bone. They just went for a Bone Club. Bone Club will hit for neutral. I'm going for the foul play, and now I have an ability to potentially play for swap. I decide that I am actually going to be playing for switch advantage here, so I will commit the shield and get the Astonish farm down. In comes Typhlosion. This is great. I should die to the Incinerate here. They're not going to have a ton of energy available, but my Amoonguss was too high rank. It survives on 1 HP, and that unfortunately gives them a whole extra Incinerate. Blast Burn will do a ton of damage. I'm expecting a switch out here, so I pause, but they actually stay in, and that costs me a rollout of damage on Typhlosion because I was expecting them to switch out, so I actually paused there. I'm now going to switch into the Jump Bluff. Jump Bluff, they can make a Blast Burn, but I should be able to do 2, end the move, and be able to get to the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace will be enough to KO the low health Typhlosion, and now this game is going to come down to a guessing game. What move do they have on Ferrothorn, and when are they going to throw it? I'm farming up a ton with the Jump Bluff, and I can actually cycle reset them here. I should be able to make them go over 100 energy, because they're always going to try and go for 1 in the move, and I overfarmed enough that now they're over 100. And this is probably going to force them to throw an alignment, and it does. Do they have Flash Cannon, or do they have Thunder? They have Thunder. They're going for it. I go for the Aerial Ace. They get the move in 1 more Bullet Seed. To me, I think they're going to overfarm. It's too obvious to throw instantly, so I don't go for the catch, but unfortunately, that's when they throw. Thunder KOs, and we're actually going to lose this game. That is really, really tough. But again, this team is so strong that even when I'm double grass going against double fighter, I should basically be able to win most of those games. Hopping into the final match, and we've got an unbelievably good lead, leading Golem into Shadow Gyarados. They save switch into Toxapex, and they're just completely core broken. There's not really much of anything they can do at this point. I'm just going to full send Wild Charge. Wild Charge is going to land, and I get an extra rollout for my troubles as well. If they bring in anything that isn't the Gyarados, I'm just going to be pivoting out because I'm heavily debuffed, and they were actually triple weak to the Golem. Unfortunately here, I'm basically just sacrificing the Amoonguss. I'm going to get no value out of this Amoonguss against the Jump Bluff, but realistically, I just had to preserve the Golem. Opponent actually banks all that energy on the Jump Bluff, and now they're going to send in Gyarados, and this works out a lot better for me because I'm going to be able to fire off the Foul Play. That's going to do very nice damage. Opponent accidentally mistimes there. They do give me an Astonish for free. Crunch connects, getting Amoonguss low. And the Amoonguss unfortunately sold me in a previous game by being too bulky. This time, it was the correct amount of bulky. I send in the Jump Bluff as they fire off a move. Jump Bluff, of course, more than happy to tank an Energy Ball. Oh no, they thought I brought in the Golem. I did have a move banked on the Golem. They thought I was going for the snipe. They're on Acrobatics. That does huge damage to the Jump Bluff, but I mean, this game was over from lock-in, unfortunately, because they were just triple weak to Shadow Alolan Golem, and Shadow Alolan Golem is an absolutely terrifying Pokemon. So, Aerial Ace will pick up the knockout, and we're able to take the win. All in all, big congratulations to SSThorn. Making it to rank 1 in the world is a massive accomplishment, and to be almost 50 points higher than any battler on the planet shows that this team is an absolute force to be reckoned with. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.